I think it's time that we get organized so we can keep making progress on the 1966 CB160. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're making some nice progress on the 1966 CB160. Today it is all about getting organized. I need to get parts over to the sandblaster. I need to start organizing all my hardware, and I need to start figuring out which set of wheels, what options I have, so I have a complete bike to put together at the end of all of this. Let's get into it. My first priority is to organize and index all of the parts that need sandblasting. I've got myself a fresh bin and a notebook and pen ready to document. Our first piece is going to be our toolbox. No major dents, really no cosmetic issues, just needs to be sandblasted. In the bin she goes. Next up, I've got the headlight bucket right here. The only thing, I've got a couple of rubber grommets that need to be removed. Let's see if I can push these out. These are kind of nice and supple already because they've had some, actually, that one just disintegrated right before my eyes. Glad I got a donor bike. And we got one out. The other one completely disintegrated. With that, the headlight bucket is ready to go in the bin. Next up, we've got our left and right fork gears. Right fork gear, flawless. This looks beautiful. Go ahead, throw that in the bin. Our left side does have a nice little ding here. So I'm going to make a note, and I'm going to go check the donor bike to see how its left fork gear is doing. I'd like to avoid any Bondo work if necessary. Just real quick, I'm going to come out to the donor bike and check this left fork gear. This one is in much better shape than the one I've got. So I'm going to pull that off and throw that in the bin. Next up, we've got our rear brake light and license plate carrier. This actually seems really nice and straight. Go ahead and add this to the bin. Next up, we've got our left and right fork covers here. This one's a little gnarly, doesn't look too bad, but no major dings or dents, so that one's good to go. This one also, a little bit of corrosion, that'll blast right off. No major dings. These are good to go in the box. And here we go. We got foot peg mounts, rear foot peg mounts. These things are built like a brick poop house. Nothing wrong with these, no bends. All the parts are removed. Hardest part's going to be figuring out which one is left and right when it's time to put it back together. Go ahead and throw these in the box. Next up, we got the chain guard. Taking a close look at this. Not seeing any major damage. Of course, corrosion, but that's what the sandblasting is going to get rid of. I think this is going to be usable. Good to go. Now we've got our side covers. Here's our right side cover. This actually looks really, really good, but I'm still going to repaint it and go from there. No major dings. Looks like any mounts are still in place. That's looking good. And here's kind of a crusty one. It didn't have this when I got it. I found this off eBay. It's rusty. It's crusty. But no major damage that I can see at least. So these two are good to go. We are making our list and checking it twice. Next up, we've got our center stand. And I'm going to make a special note on this, that this is actually black. It's a black center stand. Everything else so far is either red or cloud silver. So yeah, this is good. That's a tough piece of metal right there. Next up, we've got our front foot pegs. These are in great shape. Again, this is real heavy metal right here. So no issues here. This, again, is a black piece. So I'll go ahead and note that. Box is starting to fill up a little bit. Next, we've got our rear swing arm. Always a good idea to take a look at these and make sure that they are straight and no bends. This actually looks really, really good. These are all stripped down. I'm going to leave these bushings in. The person I work with on sandblasting is really good about avoiding surfaces like that on the inside. So this is going to be good to go too. Next up, we've got the lower mounts for the forks. This is pretty straightforward. Really not worried about this stuff. It's pretty just greasy. I'm going to have to degrease this one, but everything's A-okay on this as well. In the box. And next up, we've got the front cloud silver fender. I'm looking at the edges. Look at these edges. The edge is absolutely perfect on this. Hasn't been dropped. Hasn't been smashed. All these brackets are in place. I can bend in a little bit, but yeah, this is a really immaculate, in immaculate shape. Front fender, let's get that blasted. Same exact story with this rear fender. Checking the edges, hasn't been bashed up on either end. looking really, really good. That sticker kind of breaks my heart that that'll go away, but it is what it is. But yeah, no major dings, no major damage on this. That's easy. Let's blast it. While I'm at it, I might as well get this tank blasted. This thing's good to go, man. I'm amazed how straight this is. No dings at all in the top. Nice and solid. We're in good shape on this. I'm just going to add this to the pile. Usually I strip these down manually, like with some, paint stripper and stuff. But why not just bring it to the sandblaster? Have them deal with it. This tank is in great shape. Now the box is getting really full. We're getting close to the end. We're going to sandblast this whole frame. I've got all the hardware, all the little rubber pieces. All of it is off, bagged and tagged. This thing is straight. It's in great shape. The sandblasting person that I work with as well does a really nice job of capping off all of these little areas down in here. So I don't even really have to remove my races. I'm going to be in good shape there. They really do a nice job. The only other pieces that I really need to deal with are these shocks. Surprisingly, as I was looking at these, this is actually a plastic cover. Isn't that crazy? I thought for sure this was going to be metal. I'm going to have to do some research for new shocks because you can see this really terrible pitting. I don't know. Can I strip this down and then maybe nickel plate? That would be nice. These covers aren't in terrible shape, but this is plastic, and that really, really surprised me. So this doesn't need to go to the sandblaster at all. This is going to be a whole other issue. The last bit of red is on these forks, but you know what? I think I can actually handle this myself. This is a relatively small part, and a little bit of paint stripper will knock that out really, really, really well. I took it to my wire wheel a little bit, and the paint literally just falls right off. So I'm just going to save this project for another day because I would like to do a full breakdown video of these forks, and because we're going to replace the seals and all that good stuff. So I'm going to deal with this, and I'm going to deal with those all by myself. I'm just going to take a quick look for anything red or anything else that is sandblaster worthy. I feel like I've been pretty good about keeping this stuff all separated and in good shape. So I think I'm good, but I'm going to dig through the bin here real quick to see if I run across any other odds and ends. Gotta love all the bagging and tagging. We got our headlight bucket cushions. I've got my center stand bumper. I've got my carb mounting nuts. I've got my tank cover badges and bolts for all that stuff. My brake cable stay. Man, gas tank mounts. Nothing needs blasting there. Here's center stand. Here's all the springs for the center stand. Here is, this is for the front damper. This is all the damper materials that we need there. What else do we got? Love bagging and tagging. Got the handlebar mounts. Those are good to go. What we got here? We got some races and ball bearings. That don't need to go. Front, fork covers. These are chrome. We'll clean those up. Top nut for the frame. Good to go there. Bolts. 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 More bolts. Oh, man. I'm super organized on this build. I am absolutely loving it. Here's the foot pegs. Those will get cleaned up. More bolts. I'm looking for an ignition. Here's the rear tail light. That's all there. More bolts. Rear fender bolts. Condenser bolts, bolts. Here we go. That's the part I'm looking for right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull this apart. Getting the ignition out of this mount is really no big deal, or at least it shouldn't. Grab yourself a punch. I'm going to make my dad real proud today because I'm going to use a proper punch to remove this ignition. You're just going to use your punch and knock this around. He gave me all kinds of grief on a previous video I put out where I used a screwdriver as a punch. He'll never let me live that one down. There we go. Just take this thing off of here. Pull our key. Pull this out. And our ignition should, in theory, it should come out. Let's dribble a little penetrating oil in here. Let's see if we can get this thing to move a little bit. Got to look real close for this, but there is a little ring here. It kind of feels like it's a plastic piece. Some sort of a gasket of some kind. But that is really adhered onto it. There we go. I just broke it. That's okay. This looks easy enough to replace. Let's see if that's what's holding me up here. And you can definitely see how that stuff is kind of wedged in there. That's what's holding me up. There we go. That little piece was wedged in there like that. This little piece was holding this thing in. There, our ignition is out. I just went ahead and put all those pieces back together. I'll throw that in the box. Let's see if there's any other surprises in the box. Couple clamps, more bolts, carburetor pieces, a hand grip and a switch. I ain't seeing no red in the box. I think we're good. Well, that is fantastic to have all of that stuff organized and ready to go. And I've got myself a complete list that I can hand to my sandblasting service. So all the parts leave and all the parts come back. While I wait for those parts, I guess it's time to get at some polishing. They're the wheels, and we got some hubs. We've got exhaust pipes and pedals and shifters. And don't forget, we got carbs to clean up as well. Lots of mini projects are on the way. Talking about a mini project, restoring and cleaning up this seat is going to be one of those for sure. And let's not forget the motor, the most important part. We're going to be dealing with that. We're going to actually be doing quite a bit on this, I think. But next up is probably going to be tearing down these forks and doing some investigation on replacement shocks. So there we go. We got a little bit dirty, got a little stuff on my face. That's a good day. And we got all our parts ready to go to the sandblaster, identifying our next steps, our next projects. And yeah, I think the CB160 is going to move forward relatively quickly. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully we don't run into any major snags. Got a bunch of research to do, and in a video too coming up, I think I need to talk about what parts we need to buy, because there are consumable parts that we're going to need to replace. We're not just putting all the old stuff back on in many cases. So that'll be a whole other thing. Right now it's time to do the grunt work and get after it. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It really does help the channel. And don't forget to go get that free sticker at keeponwrenching.com. We'll see you in the next video or live stream.